Can you tell that I spilled face powder all over my t-shirt? You probably can. Hello everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. Today we're going to be doing my December wrap-up, which is coming very late. I know I've been very slumpy all month, so because of that, I'm starting to get back into things a little bit, but I'm still behind on my content. So, I'm sorry that it's so late. Also, we have a visitor. I'm home alone right now, so she's going to be quite, annoying throughout this entire video, so I'm sorry, but you need to come here. Or move out of the way. Okay, so yeah, I lied to you in my TBR. Well, I didn't lie to you. Do not rub your face on my camera. What are you doing? Okay. So I actually only managed to read 9 books last month. I said in my TBR that I read 12, but I only read 9. I had assumed that I would be able to read 12, but then the slump happened, so then I didn't get to read it. So yeah, I only read 9, but now with all that behind us, let's get into it. So first off, we're gonna do my stats. This is all the different things that I wrote down for last month. Okay, so for my pages read, I read, that's the wrong month. I read 2,644. For my genres, I read 1 true crime book, I read 1 middle grade, 4 YA fantasy, 1 sci-fi, 1 graphic novel, and 2 contemporary books. For my year bought, this stat is because I want to track the years that I buy books, because I want to prioritize the books from 2019 versus the books bought in 2020, because those are the newest books in my TBR. Well, now it's 2021, but you know what I mean. So I read 8 from 2019 and then 1 from 2020, which is a really good thing for me to do because, as I said, I want to read my 2019 reads first. She's being so annoying, isn't she? And then for my series stats, I had 3 continuations for series, I had 4 standalones, and 2 beginning series. So I'd like to have more continuations than beginnings, so that's a good thing. Alright, so let's get into the actual books and their ratings. So first off, we have Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt. This is a nonfiction true crime novel, and which is about our main character who moved to Savannah, Georgia, and interviews the white residents, and one of the people that he interviews and has somewhat made friends with has committed or has gone to trial for murder, is on trial for murdering someone. I absolutely hated this book and gave it 1 star. The total of the true crime being the court trial, the verdict, the murder happening, lasted about 10 pages, and this is like a 380 page book, so there was like nothing involving true crime in this book except for about 10 pages of that entire book. And everything else was just so unnecessary. There was so much racism and transphobia and homophobia throughout it, and the people were awful in the story, and they're real people, which just makes it even worse about the fact that, like, they were real people and he interviewed them, and never once did he discount their beliefs in any way by saying that, hey, I don't agree with that, or hey, I don't believe this, or I don't believe that. It just wasn't in the story, and it made me really angry, and I hated it. The only good thing about this book was the setting. I do really want to visit Savannah, Georgia one day. I think that the description of this, like, the town, because he lives in like the old part of Savannah, was really nice, and Savannah is a very historical place and I would like to visit there one day, but that's basically it. If you want to hear my full rant, check out my worst books of 2020 video, because that has made the #1 spot for my worst book of 2020. Next up, we have Old Magic by Marianne Curley. This is a YA fantasy standalone about our 2 main characters named are Kate and Jared, and Kate is an outcast at school for being weird, and everyone makes fun of her for being weird and calls her a witch, and little did they know that she actually is a witch. And Jared is a newcomer at school following a tragic accident from his dad, which has left him permanently disabled, so they move him to a very isolated and kind of rural town to make him feel better about and heal faster because of the fact that he's gonna be surrounded by nature and positive things. Kate can't help but feel attracted to Jared the minute that she sees him in class, because she just doesn't really know why, until one day when Jared is in the middle of class, he's kind of getting picked on by kids. He does unleash a hurricane in the middle of the classroom, and Kate tries to convince Jared that he is a warlock, and Jared doesn't want to believe her, but he kind of just goes along with it because he feels a deep attraction towards Kate as well. I gave this book 3.75 stars, and I thought the first half of the book was just okay, really more going towards cringy and unlikable in a sense, but the second half of the book got really, really good. I did like it. The twist was amazing. I'm not going to tell you what it is because that'd be a spoiler, but the second half of the book was a lot better. My only gripe with this book is that I feel like the author just tried to push character development or foreshadowed it to such an extent that it just got annoying. Like, I'm not like every single page talked about how Jared was a coward and he never stood up for himself and never did anything for himself, and just every single page was just over accentuating it and just talking about it, that when it finally happened to where Jared had to be a different way and be a brave person, it was just kind of like, well, I knew it was coming, because it was just foreshadowed so much throughout the entire story, and it just was unnecessary to talk about it that much. And that's the only thing. And also, like, the scenes, like, the romance was just strange. Like, you know, they're so young, and the fact that, like, it really captured what, like, young love is, because there was, like, a certain scene in the book where it was like, oh, Kate's legs were so good. Maybe because she climbs a hill every single day, and it was like, what? Like, it was just strange. Like, that was, like, it was a weird part of the book, but other than that, I did like it. Once again, like, not much, you know, I had to connect with the book a lot because the fact that it is a standalone, so I'm kind of just, like, done with it. It was good. That's basically it. Next up, we have Charlie Bone and the Blue Boa by Jenny Nimmo. This is a middle grade fantasy novel about, our main character's name is Charlie Bone, and him and his friends go to an academy called Belora's Academy. And they are all descendants of the Red King, which means that they all have endowments in some way. Charlie himself has an endowment where he can go into portraits and talk to the people in there, and also take items from there. We follow him throughout the series as he needs to save his friends from evil, and also he wants to find his father, who went missing when he was a baby, and everyone thinks that he's dead, but Charlie doesn't believe that he is dead. He wants to find his father and bring him back to his world. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The series is really, really cute, and I feel for the characters so much. Like, there's one character in particular who just pulls my heartstrings every single time, and, like, I get teary-eyed sometimes. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, he is just so sweet and doesn't deserve anything in his life that comes to him, and I just want to, like, I wanted to have a good life, and Jenny Nimmo really makes sure that she doesn't give him a good life throughout this entire series. I feel so bad for him. And I found myself laughing out loud a lot too. A lot of funny parts from this book, and it was just a cute middle grade novel, and they're all just so amazing. The only thing about this book is that I do wish this, the bad guys were more bad. Like, you have these characters who are threatening to murder someone, and then the next morning they're cooking breakfast for Charlie, and it's kind of like, okay, but didn't you try to murder someone last night? Like, it just, I just find that a bit weird. Like, but that's really all I have for complaints. I feel like because it is a middle grade series, you kind of don't want to, like, you know, put too much, like, bad guys into it, but also at the same time, it's just kind of strange. It's just kind of a little bit weird. Next we have Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is a YA contemporary book about a girl named Maddie who is allergic to the world in a sense. So she can't go outside. She can't have anyone come into her house unless they go through, like, a deep clean of themselves and, like, make sure that no germs are on her, and also they can't touch her. And then a boy named Ollie moves in next door, and Maddie can't help but fall for him and want to know everything about him and the world around her, even if it means sacrificing her life to do so. I overall thought this was a good book. I gave it 3 stars. I liked the characters, thought that it was cute, but the only thing that really just, like, bugs me about it is that I didn't really care enough about the whole thing, because I feel like everything was just rushed in a way. The ending of the story, there was a big twist at the end, and it was never, like, talked about more after that. It was just kind of like that big twist happened, which could, like, change Maddie's entire life, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, my life will change from now on. She was like, oh yeah, my life will change from now on. It's like, okay, but how though? Like, you've been cooped up in your house for your whole life, now something changed, and now you're just like, oh yeah, it'll change for me. Like, what? Like, I don't know, like, I feel like for that, like, we need a sequel, because I want to know more about her. Like, not that I'm really that invested in it, but also, like, I don't know. I just think that we need more from her, and, like, we weren't given enough information throughout the entire book to make me feel, like, okay about the characters. Like, I feel like everything was just, like, very, like, fast. Like, it was a very short book because everything is told, like, the pages look like this. So, like, you know, it's like a 300-page book. When you think about it, it's not full-size pages, so it's like a 100-book book. And a lot of things happen, but it all just feels so rushed, and I didn't like that. And also I feel like I'm just, like, I'm not the target group for contemporary books anymore, because I'm so, like, I'm 20 years old and, like, I'm not in high school anymore, so I feel like I would have loved this in high school, but, like, I don't love it now, and that's okay. Next we have Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron. This is a YA high fantasy book about a girl named Aura, and she comes from a long line of witch doctors. And Aura tries to get magic and tries to have her magic come to her, but it's just not coming, and her mother is very disappointed in her because her mother is, like, the high priestess of her kingdom. Until one day her parents start acting strange and kids start disappearing from her kingdom, that Aura decides to trade years of her life to gain magical powers, which is very frowned upon in her kingdom, and people who do so are called charlatans, and they don't have, like, respect in her kingdom for doing such a thing. And this broad power reveals a lot of betrayals in her life and also puts her in the knowledge of an evil that threatens her life and everyone around her. And Nara has to find a way to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like she has to find a way to control this broad power in order to save everyone and everything around her as well. I loved the story. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that the writing was beautiful. I thought that the character, like, I was physically angry for a lot of the story, but I mean that in a really good way, because it was like, she just knew how to like get under your skin. Like certain characters I was just like, ooh, like I hated them, you know? And like, I don't know, I thought that it was such a good thing. Like when an author can do that, I always feel very good about it in a way, because yes, I felt angry, but also I'm glad that it was able to make me invoke those kinds of emotions in terms of the characters and not about the actual book itself, if that makes sense. The ending absolutely wrecked me, and luckily I pre-ordered the second book because it's coming in next month and I just can't wait to read it. The only gripe that I really have with it is that the pacing was off. Which I read a lot of reviews on Goodreads, so I know that a lot of them did say there's an issue for them too. So just know that if you're taking my video and wanting to read the book, just know that you have to get through the first like half of it, and then after that, not the first half, but like the first like 100 pages, and then it'll get a lot better after that, because the first 100 pages are kind of just like something happens and then it stops, and then it happens and it stops, and it's kind of like, it's just kind of strange, you know. But other than that, I really did enjoy it, and I cannot wait to read the next book. Next we have Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is a adult sci-fi graphic novel series about a couple who come from differing warring planets, and they have a baby together, which is considered a crime. So they are constantly on the run from the two planets that want to kill them, basically. And this is the 3rd volume in that series. I gave this installment 4 stars. I really love the series and its characters, and they're really easy to like get through, so reading them is not really a big deal to me, because I feel like I love it a bit more because it's so easy to get through. Lion Cat is like my favorite character. She's a cat that doesn't say anything, but I love her. Like, I just love Lion Cat. This volume did feel a little bit like a filler volume for the ones that are going to come in the future, which is fine because I still really enjoy the characters. I still like it. The writing and the art style is really nice too, so that's like the only thing, the reason I gave it 4 stars into 5 is because I feel like it was just filler, you know? I don't know why I'm showing you this. I'm past the art part, right? But, yeah. Either way, you still read it if you're older and can handle the adult content in there, but other than that, I thought that it's really, really good. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is a YA contemporary with a bit of magical realism in there, about a girl named Ava and her mother and her grandmother's lives, and Ava has wings. And it's kind of talking about how Ava's fate became the way that it is towards the end of the book, and what happens. I'll read you the last line of the synopsis because it's kind of interesting. So it says, on the night of the summer solstice, the skies open up and rain and feathers fill the air as Ava's fate is revealed. So it's very, once again, if you've seen my disappointing and worst books 2020, you know that book is on there for my disappointing, because I ended up only giving it 3 stars, which isn't a bad rating. I just wanted it to be a 5-star, and I expected it to be a 5-star because I thought that it was like right up my alley. That was gonna be amazing, and it wasn't. Like, the writing is absolutely beautiful, and the metaphor and the metaphors and magic intertwining with the structure of the story is actually really beautiful, and I did like that about the book. But other than that, there was a lot of weird things about the book. Like, the plot wasn't really structured. It didn't have a lot of plot to it. It follows a bunch of different timelines from other people, and a lot of it is sad, so it's kind of hard to read it because it is so sad. And I also didn't really like how there was depictions of sexual assault towards a minor, and when it wasn't needed for the story. It made me feel really uncomfortable, and I didn't like that in the slightest, and it was not necessary at all. So I didn't like that. Everything felt like it had kind of like a dark, rainy cloud over it, because like the characters really annoyed me too, because in a way, like especially Vivienne, because of the fact that, is her name Vivienne? Ava's mother, because I don't remember her name. She like lost her love when she was 18, and then she, like when she's like 40 years old, she still feels the same way. And it's like, that's not really, like, she won't even like let herself leave the house because of the fact that she lost her love when she was 18 years old, and I felt like that was just so unrealistic and also like really just annoying, because it's not how like it should be, and I really wanted better for her in a way. So I didn't like that either. But I think if you want to read the book, you should. I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to, which is fine, because to each their own, right? And I'm sorry if you did like that book. I guess I just didn't in a way. Okay, next we have Tithe by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy book about a girl named Kay, and she lives a nomadic lifestyle with her mother, who is a rock star. And Kay used to live at her grandmother's house, and she used to have a trio of fae friends, and Kay doesn't really know if they're real or not until one day when she's 18 years old, she does find them again and they are real. And Kay finds herself in a plot as a pawn between the two rival Fae kingdoms. I gave that book 2.75 stars, which I'm really sad about because I really did love Cruel Prince by her, which I think obviously Cruel Prince is an older book out of Holly's repertoire, I guess you can say. So it makes sense why the writing's better, why everything else is better on that book, but also like I wanted more from this book and I just didn't get it. A lot of the writing was really cringy and juvenile and the book was okay, but I recently bought the next book in this trilogy because, you know, I wanted to complete the series. And it's not even about Kay. It's not even like following the same character. So it's like, why did I read this book? Like, because this book didn't end nicely. It didn't end in a way where it was wrapped up nicely. It left on a cliffhanger, kind of. Oh my god, it scared the shit out of me. You know, when you're home alone, you hear someone else, my neighbor's door closed. I'm home alone now, so I was like, I'm trying to come in and kill me. Sorry. Okay. I need to calm down for a second. So yeah, this book didn't end in a nice way and I want to know what happens with her, but now it's like whole different set of characters in the next book and now I'm just like, well, shit. Like, I'm gonna complete it because I want to complete the series, but overall, I'm just disappointed in it. I'm just disappointed in it. Next we have Angel by James Patterson. This is the 7th book in the Maximum Ride series, which is a YA fantasy book about a girl named Maximum Ride and her friends who basically escaped some place called the school because they are half human, half bird because they were experimented on in that place called the school. And now we're following them 7 books later, doing the same thing over and over again, right? Gave that book 2.5 stars. I read not Faye, my god. I read Fang earlier this year and I had to know what happened next. I gave Fang 5 stars. I loved that book. This book, I hated it. Like, I don't know where James Patterson is planning on going with the series anymore. Like, obviously there's only 2 books left, but like, we are nowhere near what happened in the first books of the series. So it's like, this should have just ended a long time ago and it hasn't ended yet. And I'm like, I'm still going to complete it because I only have 2 books left, but also it's like, did I waste my time? I feel like I kind of did in a way. So like, I don't know. I'm just ready for it to be over, basically is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so we didn't really end on a good note. The last 2 books I read in the month were 2 stars, which is kind of sad. I feel like that's why I went into a reading slump, but yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope that you have a good one. I hope that you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.